welcome to this stream, and to Belgium. I can finally show this stuff off. Hard to Find 4, Götterdämmerung. I have been personally involved in this expansion. This is the one that I've been working on for the last year or so. Specifically Belgium. Belgium is the country that I've been working on the most. The entire design of Belgium is mine. Most of the implementation is mine. Congo's design, at least the shared part of Congo, is mine. Jonathan did the independent Congo bit, and also I got a lot of help with the actual implementation, particularly from Marlin and from Jonathan. They both helped implementing various branches, but the design, overall design, is what I did. And then also with the special projects, I was in the special projects feature team, so I worked on the air special projects, so helicopters, motherships, supersonic jets, all of that stuff is what I did. And then also the radar rework was mine as well. So, well, it's not rework, the radar reinstatement, moving it from a regular technology into a special project tech. So yeah, I have definitely done some stuff in this. We're going to be starting a single player game, a new game, selecting the scenario, and we're going to be taking a look at Belgium. Belgium remains scarred by its experiences in the Great War, with large parts of the nation still lying in ruin and deeper wounds to be found in the psyche of the people. The democratic future of the nation itself is in some question, beset as it is by allegations of corruption brought against them by various fascist factions. Internationally, Belgium treads a tightrope between the treaty obligations to those who turned the nations into a battlefield and concerns their ongoing security in an increasingly unsettled world. So we're going to select the country, we're going to do Belgium. Do I want to turn Germany up a touch? I think I will. I have found that it is a little bit helpful to turn Germany up a little bit, if you want a bit more of a challenge. So, Belgium. What do we have going on for us? So, first of all, we have Paul van Zeeland, the corrupt old guard. He's wearing a monopoly hat, so of course he's completely trustworthy in every way. He was a fantastically corrupt politician. I am sure that will have no bearing on this playthrough whatsoever, however. Then we've got the economic downturn, so we have a reduction in consumer goods factories factor, and then also factory output. Both of those are going to be bad things that we need to resolve. Corruption, as mentioned, daily political power gain down, stability down, construction speed down. However, we do get a little bit of fascism support because, interestingly enough, the ones who are hunting down the corrupt politicians were the fascists. And then we have Scars of the Great War, division organisation down, recruitable pop down, war support massively down, and then military factory construction down. We have the Shasta Ardennais. I'm particularly proud of these guys. They are mountaineers, but their mountaineering abilities are reduced, and instead they get some forest capabilities. And considering the Ardennes is entirely forested, that might well come in useful. And then we have the language barriers, because the Belgians are split between the French-speaking Walloons and the Dutch-speaking Flemish. And this gives us a political power gain reduction, stability and war support reductions. And then we have the national focus thing here. So over on the left hand side we have the military bit, so this is kind of defensive, this is just military technologies, military offense, and then military industry. We have the tiny little diplomatic branch here in the middle. We have the political, which is all of this, so we can go historical, which is down this path with a little alt history bit going down there, or we have the actual alt history bit, which is if you go with de Grelle instead of Paul Emile Jansson. And two different flavours of fascism. We have the nationalist fascists, who are all about building tall. We have the expansionist fascists, who are all about building wide, and then the shared bit here in the middle. And then if you decide, actually, no, I don't like the fascists, and also the king isn't great for our country, then you can also do the constitutional crisis, which is the path you want to do if you really want to go and try to hold the line against the Germans, because they get some pretty beefy defences down here in the bottom. And then over here on the side, in the first snap election, you have a choice between the Government of National Unity or the Van der Velde minority, which is socialist, so it is actually democratic, but it allows you to play with the communist nations, or with Raise the Red Flag, you can actually flip communist, because I know that is useful for game mechanic purposes. Even though there was really no chance that Belgium would have gone communist. Their country was really progressive for its time, the workers were pretty chill, which actually comes about over here in the industrial branch. So the industrial branch looks a little bit small. There are various things they can do, including, for example, 40-hour work week, greater corporate social responsibility, which ties into the fact that they didn't really need trade unions because the companies were pretty forward-looking. And then we have the Congo shared branch, which was kind of the little thing that I brought to make Belgium unique, where you can work with Congo in your own focus tree. So you're both going to be completing this, and regardless of who completes it, both sides get a little bit of a bonus. And then we have two branches here with the Belgian Air Force. Historically, the Belgian air record wasn't great. They shot down one German plane during the war. However, that was because they didn't really set up their own aviation industry, even though they had a lot of potential. So if you go down this path, it will take you a little bit longer to set up, but you can actually get some pretty good air power going here, or you can go for the rushed. I'm going to try to buy as many planes as I can. And then, interestingly enough, the Belgians were early innovators for helicopters, and part of the reason we have helicopters, well, actually the reason we have helicopters in Götterdämmerung is because of the Belgians. I'm going to say that right now. Because I was like, Belgians did really cool helicopters. We're doing special projects. Can we have helicopters, please? So yeah, we got them. And then we have the naval branch. In 1927, Belgium disbanded their entire fleet. So you kind of have to start from scratch because you don't have even a single boat and not even a single... how's this game work again? Dockyard. So you got some work to do. And then national focus. So what are we actually going to do for this run? I think we're going to go historical. I haven't actually seen anyone going true historical Belgium. I am not going to go all out defensive. I know that I can hold Belgium. I have tested this extensively if I go all out defensive. But we're going to go a bit defensive. We'll go kind of actually historical defensive. And so I think what we probably want to do is go for neutrality first and go. And there is perpetual neutrality done. Let's get independent, neutral, and loyal. We have finished independent, neutral, and loyal. So now I think we're going to start towards the government resigning. Pressure on the government has been mounting due to widespread allegations from the fascist Rexist organisation of corruption, leading to the fall of the government and the beginning of preparations for a new election. Okay, the government resigns and a snap election. Pressure on the government due to the ongoing corruption scandal finally caused it to collapse. Investigators, led by Leon de Grelle, leader of the fascist Rexist movement, has been investigating the bribery of ministers for several years, resulting in numerous payments to be discovered. In a bid to regain legitimacy, the embattled Prime Minister Paul van Zeeland called a snap election to begin to regain credibility and legitimacy, and the results are now in. Parti Ouvrier Belge, the Belgian Workers' Party led by Emile van der Velde, performed best, capitalising on the unpopularity of his political rival. He could take this victory and form a minority government, or work together with Paul van Zeeland's Catholic Party to form a more stable majority and form the government of national unity. It should also be noted that Leon de Grelle's Rexist Party also performed very well, with his anti-corruption stance proving to be very popular. We're going historical, so we're going to go with Paul van Zeeland. We'll get some stability, we'll get a big boost to democracy, and we will automatically complete government of national unity. Alright, so now we cannot get royal intervention until we have both repudiate treaty with France and also the collapsing government. I can tell you that you trigger collapsing government by investigating the bribery charges, so we'll do that now. The allegations of corruption never left the government and calls for an investigation have intensified. Leon de Grelle, the fascist Rex's leader, has even directly implicated Paul van Zeeland himself, accusing him of taking bribes. Okay, next up we're going to repudiate the treaty with France, which will lead us to the royal intervention. France's refusal to extend the Maginot Line along our borders in essence leaves a wide open door through which an enemy will be forced to attack. By repudiating our treaties with them, we can be free of any military obligations to assist them, but they will still be forced to intervene should we be attacked, or risk a follow-through invasion into their unguarded territory. Right, we have a ton of political power, we should probably spend some of that. So let's take a look at our options. We have Henri de Man, the man with the plan, who can give us efficiency cap and also growth. He does add a little bit of communism because he was a socialist, as was Paul-Henri Spaak. We have Didion Saive, which can give us the research speed, factory output, and funds gain. But I think the usual opener is going to be Camille Gut, who gives you a consumer goods factor minus 15%. So we'll go with him. So, perpetual neutrality, what does it do? It gives us construction speed of various factories, but it means we cannot join a faction, we cannot lend lease, we cannot send volunteers, we cannot guarantee, we cannot justify. And it takes longer for other people to justify on us. It also means we can't embargo. Okay, Paul van Zeeland's corruption scandal. The corruption scandal haunting Paul van Zeeland's Catholic Party today worsened as the Prime Minister himself was found to have accepted contributions. It would seem to be simply a matter of time before his government collapses again. And this adds a weekly stability penalty, the collapsing government, so we definitely want to get rid of that as soon as we can. Repudiate the treaty with France is done. So now we're going to do the royal intervention, which requires the collapsing government, but we'll also get rid of it. The king will step in to deal with the collapsing government. The government has fallen. Again. And it's time for the king to step in and take action. There are two candidates for Prime Minister, the sure hand of Paul Emil Jonsson or Leander Grell, who has led the complaints against the corruption of the previous regime. Election. Fascists in government? An aggressively nationalist sentiment has grown in Belgium, giving rise to several parties promoting fascist ideals, a state enforcing its power through force. One of these in particular has won favour in the current election, leading to discussions within the Catholic Bloc Party as to whether or not we should try to cooperate with them following the government. So we can say we'd rather have the fascists than the communists, or a broad coalition of democratic parties is preferable. I'm going to say I want the fascists right now, because I don't want to lose the stability. We have enough political power for the next thing again. So, do we want Saive with his research speed and factory output, or do we want Henri de Man? Oh, another thing I want to point out. Edgar Sengier gives a bunch of nuclear bonuses. Belgium can go hardcore nuclear if they want to. And they actually start with a nuclear scientist too. Alright, we've got the national focus done. Royal appointment. Paul van Zeeland recently resigned as the Prime Minister and leaves his post in disgrace. This time, Leopold III, the King himself, has declared that he will step in to appoint a new Prime Minister. There are two prominent candidates. Paul Emil Jonsson, leader of the Liberal Party and member of the Government of National Unity, is seen as a stable hand. The other is Leander Grell, heralded as the voice of law and order, and recently bolstered by his own party's success in the election. So we're going to go with the stable hand. Okay, so we can grab Plonderman, which will give us some consumer goods factory factor. Or we could start working on some industry, and I think it's probably time to do that. So we're going to go with monetary reconstruction. Following the First World War, the Belgian economy was left in tatters. In a bid to facilitate reconstruction and to pay off its massive debts, the Belgian Finance Ministry started printing money. Lots of money. Although this helped at the time, we are at risk of hyperinflation and must get this under control before any other reforms can take place. And then we have enough political power. We should get... I think I'm going to go with Saive. Let's get that research speed and factory output. Monetary reconstruction done. So next up we can go for rebuild the Wallonian industry. Wallonia was the area hit hardest during the German occupation in the First World War, with much of its industry and resources plundered by the occupiers. Reconstruction has come on at a pace in the meantime, but it could always do with more investment to reach its true potential as the Belgian industrial heartland. Anarchist uprising in the Spanish Civil War continued government attempts at reasserting centralised control over the mostly independently acting anarchist communes in northeastern Spain, as well as the Stalinist repression of dissident communist viewpoints, has now led to full-blown infighting the Republican front. Okay, we're about to hit the next political power level. So I think I'm going to go for Henri de Man. Alright, new national focus. We could go for Plunderman, but I think what I want to actually do is try to get to Société Générale de Belgique. So this brings us to the Congo shared focus tree. And now that some of this has actually been completed, let's talk about this a little bit more. So the ones, this entire tree, as I mentioned previously, is shared between Belgium and Congo. And both countries can contribute to it. The ones which just have the Belgian bunting can only be completed by Belgium. The ones with only the Congolese bunting can be done by Congo, and then the ones that have both can be done by either. When one country has completed it, it completes also automatically for the other country, and these will mostly give bonuses to both. So for example, Heart of Africa will give 3% research speed to Congo, and 75 political power to Belgium. Rwanda-Urundi will give Rwanda building slots, Burundi building slots. It's actually one of the few that does not give anything to Belgium. Flaminia, better example, will give 1 year of construction speed to Belgium and then civilian factories to Congo. So what we want to do is Congolese investments, which will give civilian factories to Congo and nothing to us immediately, but it basically opens up everything else. And then Société Générale de Belgique, which will give Congo minus 5% consumer goods and also 2% construction, and then us will give the political power gain, but more importantly, it will allow access to Société Générale de Belgique industrial group. The Belgian central government is well aware of the riches of Congo, and as such, we could harness that wealth and turn it towards further recovery of the Belgian economy. All it will take is a little upfront investment. We have an MIO. FN Herstal has upgraded, so what we really want is to try and get these three. Extra production output cost reduction, soft attack increase, and then a big 10% soft attack increase, but it does increase the cost. But for now, we're going to try and get to these middle ones, so we need both of these top ones. Oh no, we just need the one. So do we want defense or do we want soft attack and reliability? Let's go for the soft attack and reliability. Congo investments, complete. Alright, so let's get Société Générale de Belgique. The megalithic company at the heart of much of the Belgian economy. If we want the organisational and financial muscle needed to develop an entire country, there is no one better to turn to bolster our own interests in Congo. And we have an MIO with funding. Fonderie Royale de Canon. So we'll start you with production efficiency for the artillery. Société Générale de Belgique is complete, so I was going to say the first thing I'll do is grab them, but I can't afford it yet. That's going to cost me 150. In the meantime, I think I want to grab gold reserves. Thankfully, the Belgian state maintains a sizable gold reserve. At present, this provides us with stable foundation for borrowing and lending within our country, although we could also choose to sell the gold to temporarily boost development and construction. Okay, gold reserves. So this unlocks investor gold reserves, so we can expand the welfare system, which will cash in. So what this does is gives us 10% consumer goods factory factor. We can cash that in up to 4 times. So this one will spend 2.5% of it and give us 150 political power, 5 stability, and 5 democracy. We can do the National Construction Program. Again, cost 2.5, and will give us 20% construction speed for half a year. And then we can do National Industrial Program, again, 2.5%, and it will give us factory output and dockyard output for a year. I want to keep it, however, because I'm trying to build up my industry at the moment. Once we get to one of the war economies, then maybe we'll start cashing it in a little. But at the moment, I'm happy with how it is. And in the meantime, I'm going to grab social partners. Our government convened the National Labour Conference to bring together trade union and company representatives. The result of this has been the introduction of the minimum wage and 6-day paid holidays per year. And we've also hit the 150 political power, which we are going to use for Société Générale de Belgique. For another 20% off. So our industry is now booming because we have such low usage of consumer goods. Can start is on some of these. I do like Tip of the Spear because it gives us extra special forces. I do also like Static Warfare because of the extra entrenchment. Proper Heritage is nice because the leader experience gain. Engineering Corps allows you to entrench faster and better railway guns. Although that's better for attacking. Logistical focus, supply consumption down. That would be great in Africa. Social partners, done. That's going to increase our production efficiency. So now I think we're going to get Revive Coal Mining, Cockerill. Then I think I need to start working on some of this stuff. We're in December 37. This gives civilian factories. Now let's get that going. The cornerstone of Wallonian industry has always been steel. And to better produce this important material, we need to aggressively expand our coal mines in the region. Interesting thing, even though Belgium produced an absolute bucket load of steel, and they were one of the leading steel producers in the world at this point, which is represented by the fact that they produce 74 steel with all of the infrastructure done. They're a massive steel producer, but actually it's their little next door neighbour who was the second largest producer of iron ore in this period. Luxembourg produced slightly less iron than the entirety of France. And they basically sold it all to the Germans and the French and the Belgians. Cockerill time. Cockerill are the foremost steel manufacturer in Belgium, with massive plants capable of producing anything from engines to artillery. With the increasing demand for all of these products, we're in a prime position to see their further expansion. Fascists influence foreign policy. Accepting the fascists into a political coalition has had the impact on foreign policy. Despite their vehement nationalism, they have had sympathisers abroad who approve of the influence they've been given in Belgium. Totalitarian governments of similar ideological leanings see us as potential allies. How much is 33? So we could increase fascism and also boost our relationship with Germany. We can say no to the fascists, get some more democracy, but lose more stability. I really don't want to lose that stability. Cockerill, the heart of Belgian manufacturing. Cockerill is the company which sits squarely at the heart of Belgian manufacturing. Throughout its existence, it's turned its hands not only to the manufacture of iron and steel, but also finely engineered machines, including steam engines, trains, and even battleships. It developed a stellar reputation and rose to become a major force in the steel industry of Western Europe. Adolphe Grenier, the Director General, along with members of the management, remained at the post throughout the Siege of Liège and the Great War, ensuring that employment remained open to its workforce so long as it could. Once occupied, the company refused to manufacture for the occupying forces and was therefore gutted for the majority of its heavy steelworking equipment. It has since recovered during the interwar period and remained a foremost industrial concern. Alright, I think it's time for Plunderman to get some more consumer goods, and then I think probably the defence bill. Although it comes at a great political cost, the Prime Minister has been working hard to continue the reforms of Henri Demant and implement further unemployment measures. This is aimed to further reduce the unemployment rate from the high of 23.5 in 1932 down to 15%. Exiled Austrians offer their service. Anschluss of Austria. After a successful coup d'etat by the local Nazi party in Vienna, German troops have crossed the Austrian border and taken control of the country. No fighting has been reported, and the German soldiers were greeted by cheering crowds in the cities. In a speech before a massive crowd they held in Platz in Vienna, Hitler announced the Anschluss of Austria annexing the country into Germany. The oldest eastern province of the German people shall be, from this point on, the newest bastion of the German Reich. The Anschluss of the federal state of Austria has left many Austrians that were opposing this development exiled from their former home. Some of these dissidents have now arrived in Belgium and are offering their services in the factories, in the streets, and on the front lines. So we cannot guarantee their loyalty will increase fascism, or we can say we will use their help, which will increase resistance growth, damage to enemy garrisons, then also give us some more recruitable population throughout Belgium, which is something that actually happened. There was a big exodus of Austrians to Belgium specifically. Alright, we have that. Man with the plan? Uranium magnate? I think we may need to switch to one of these defensive guys, but right now I think it's going to be more prudent for us to have Henri de Man, man with the plan. Plunderman is done. Yeah, defense bill. Let's do it. Our declaration of perpetual neutrality was not precisely well received on the international stage. However, the reality is this needed to be done to concentrate political support towards a significant rearmament program. One of the impressive things about Belgium was they did manage to raise 600,000 men to their army. Let's do increased length of service so I can actually start training my armies. With tensions rising around the globe, our strategic position between military giants, we must show our willingness to defend ourselves and ensure our territorial sovereignty. As such, we will put ourselves on heightened alert and increase the length of service for those currently serving. Increased length of service done. September 38. I'm getting a little bit nervous. Yeah, I think I'm going to go FN hairstyle because there are just so many upgrades for them. Belgium is blessed by a world-renowned arms industry, Fabrique Nationale de Hairstyle or FN hairstyle being the most prominent. This arms manufacturer produces exceptional quality arms designed by the very best in the business, like Didion Saive. A close working collaboration with the Browning Arms Company further reinforces the truly global reach our companies enjoy. And this was actually, I worked with Bittersteel with some of the design for Belgium, had him kind of under NDA helping me as an advisor, and it was his suggestion that we add the lack of junior officers, because even though Belgium didn't have any real problem getting the 600,000 men, organising them was another task. So the lack of junior officers penalty was his idea. And also finding the uniforms for the Chasseurs Ardennais. That was help that Bittersteel gave me. With their big floppy green hats. They were one of the first users of berets. Because the original berets were used by French Alpine troops, which the Belgians then copied, but then they started like moulding them to the side so they didn't get in the way of the guns. There's FN hairstyle. So let's upgrade you. Now we can get the these upgrades. So we're going to make our guns cheaper. And Poudre de Belgique will give us more building slots and factories, and also reduce that economic downturn. This is Belgium's strength. They scale very, very well. More support equipment, because I know how expensive that is. And then I think I'm just going to go more guns for more boots on the ground. And then we can't do Minerva Imperia until we have the Dial plan, so I think it's time for the Dial plan. Despite all our public announcements of neutrality and military non-interventionism, behind closed doors we continue to work with our strategic partners and draw plans and contingencies in case of invasion. The general idea being that we hold as long as we can behind the Dial River, until expeditionary forces can arrive to bolster our defences. So the Dial River is this one here. So fight in the Ardennes for as long as you can, withdraw behind the Meuse River, hold there, and then retreat behind the Dial River to hold here. Other than that, I think we're now good. Oh, we need to do these. Tip of the spear, because I would very much like to get a couple more Chasseurs Ardennais trained. And then... Alright, static warfare. We are Belgium. And then probably tenacious defense. Dial plan has been done. One thing we haven't actually talked about is the fact we actually have a dam. Belgium does have one of the oldest dams in Europe, and in fact, this dam, whose name completely escapes me, is one of the most what's the word? It's not most well engineered. It's one of the toughest dams. Like, if you actually try to blow this thing up, it would be next to impossible. Yeah, let's go for economic recovery. The work of our government, even against the numerous obstacles which have faced it, has led to growth and rapid recovery of our economy. But even with this, there are already rumblings that even this has not been enough. And this is one of the changes of power in Belgium I really did not understand, I have to admit. Because things seem to be going well. Paul Emil Janssen seemed to be pretty popular, and then suddenly he resigned. And Spark took over. And I cannot understand why. It seemed to be something about people weren't happy with the speed of the economic recovery, which is what I tried to represent with this. But that change in power was a weird one. Like, the Adrian Martins crisis was a lot more clear-cut. And Paul Emil Janssen, tragic circumstances actually, he tried to flee when Belgium capitulated with the rest of the government in exile, but he was caught. and executed as a political prisoner by the Germans. So while people like Spark, PLO, Fleischauer, and Gut escaped and became the Belgian Big Four, who were basically the government in exile, was those 4 people. Jansson also tried to flee, but he was caught. Italy pursues closer bonds with Germany. Italy and Germany have expressed many conflicting interests, particularly in Austria and the Balkans. Defensive neutrality is done. So I think I want to get Belgian gates in the Iron Wall. Also known as Cointer elements, these large iron constructions are designed specifically to deny tanks passage. They're kind of like the Czech hedgehogs, but bigger. And you can kind of set them up as a, you know, like the temporary barricades that can be set up at like music festivals? They're basically those, but bigger. Belgian gates. Let's get the iron wall. Our Belgian gates have proven to be a significant obstacle to enemy maneuvers and testing, so we should deploy them en masse throughout our nation to halt those who would invade us. And yeah, they basically circle Belgium with just a network of these things. August 39, there's the iron wall. Let's try and blitz down these 4 if we can. The historical cornerstone of our defense has always been Antwerp. We will upgrade the fortifications there and use it as the fulcrum to reinforce the rest of the country. Germany has declared war on Poland, and so it begins. Fall of Warsaw, so Poland is about to go. National redoubt at Antwerp is done. Let's fortify Liège and the Meuse River. During the First World War, the fortified position of Liège played a significant role in holding up German forces, allowing for a successful defense to be mounted. Despite this, serious shortcomings were highlighted with the design of the forts. We have learned our lessons, and it is now time to upgrade the fortifications again. The USSR occupies eastern Poland. Soviet troops have occupied eastern Poland officially for the purpose of protecting Belarusian and Ukrainian minorities from the chaos that followed the collapse of the Polish government. We have 150 political power again, so now is the time for probably the special forces. Is this going to allow me to recruit another one? No. Alright, Liège has been fortified. Let's build Eben Amel. The largest and grandest fortification in our line, positioned on an elevated point overlooking the Albert Canal. Eben Amel will provide the defensive staging ground and artillery support for any surrounding forces, and provide an impregnable obstacle to any who would violate our borders. Finland rejects the Soviet demands. Soviet diplomats have presented an ultimatum to the government of Finland, demanding border adjustments in the region of Karelia. And that is the end of the League of Nations. The Koning-Huit-Wavre line, or the KW line for short, are a second line of defences between Koningshuit and Wavre. These positions are prepared specifically for occupation by our and allied forces rather than garrisons, and consist of trenches, pillboxes and Belgian gates. This is a very solid line of defense and should provide the primary point of resistance for us. Koning-Huit-Wavre line done. Let's go for Imperia Minerva, because I'm not 100% sure if that gets locked by capitulation. I don't think it does, because I don't block Legacy of the Great War. Not only was Belgium a leading player in the use of armoured cars in the First World War, we've also enjoyed a prime spot in the automobile industry throughout the interwar years. 2 of our largest manufacturers, Minerva and Imperia, recently merged, and it would be a real shame if we didn't leverage their pole position to our united benefit. I forgot about that one. Germany declared war on Denmark. The German Reich has clear strategic interest in Scandinavia, both for bases for military operations and for the sake of natural resource import. The escalating conflict has meant that there is a very real threat to any resources ferried through the Baltic or the North Sea, with gradually intensifying diplomatic threats against Denmark and Norway. An increase in German military operations in the region seems likely. Save. Germany declared war on Norway. Here they come. German pressure towards Benelux. Following the breakout of war with France, Germany applied stronger diplomatic pressure than ever on the countries of the Benelux. With French and British backing, however, they are refusing to give in to the pressure. There is reason to believe that the German Reich is unable to get what they want in diplomacy. They will take it by force. But I think that this is going to be where I'm going to leave it for today.